Hey everybody, welcome to episode 12 of the Teal Teardown Hockey Podcast. I'm your host Dave, and wherever you are, whatever you're listening from, I just want to let you know that I appreciate you joining me here today. Well, hockey is a weird freaking sport. After an 8-game losing streak and losing to a bottom tier team in the Philadelphia Flyers, the Sharks are now end of the week in a 2-game winning streak after beating contenders Tampa Bay and New Jersey Devils. So it's been a pretty weird week after all. The Sharks ended the year haven't won a home game in about a month since the end of November, and yeah, they ended up being two really solid teams and two really gutsy efforts that were just close games and just really good overall hockey. And on top of that, obviously, in a stud in Yaroslav Askarov. So the first game against the Flyers, they let Georgiev played. He did not play very, very well. There was a couple goals that he probably wishes he could have back. But yeah, the Sharks did also put in a bad effort completely, the whole team, and ended up losing 4-0. But yeah, it was completely like a 180 versus these two really good teams. They're at home in the tank, and they did not disappoint their fans. They actually put in like a gutsy effort. The team played well together overall. They held on to lead against Tampa Bay. With New Jersey, they had the lead and they would cough up a couple of goals, but they ended up scoring in the dying seconds. We're going to talk about each of these games. But the one thing I do want to get into is just Yaroslav Askarov. He has been amazing for the Sharks since joining, and as well as the Barracuda. As of right now, in 7 games, Askarov has a 2.35 goals against average and a .923 save percentage for the Sharks. He is 3-2-2, meaning he has a winning record on a team that is a bottom-feeding team right now. And he's just been absolutely incredible. Like, he's the type of guy who gives you a heart attack with the way he wanders with the puck outside of his net, way outside, doing an Australian walkabout. But then he makes these huge saves. But he also gives you a heart attack with the way he plays, because he likes to give a little bit of open net space, or just like kind of get the opponent to kind of think they have a chance with some kind of a shot, and then he just completely swallows that shot up, and just with his athleticism or just his crazy ass reactions, he just somehow stops the puck from like crazy ways. He's just such an athletic goalie, very confident. Loves to bait the other players. It's incredible how he's been playing so well, and he's obviously going to be a mainstay next year. He'll be the number one starter for the Sharks, no doubt. Right now, really, I'm curious to see what the Sharks are going to do. Right now, with Vanacek being out for a few weeks, I still think it's best for Askarov to kind of finish the season for the Barracuda, trying to get them get them a Calder Cup, to get them a winning, just to get the players to have a taste of winning. And he's the type of guy who was going to benefit from that as well. But yeah, he's been absolutely incredible for the Sharks. Like, it's been unbelievable. Now, as for the whole Sharks, the team themselves in the standings, they somehow still dropped to the second last place. So right now, Chicago Blackhawks are the bottom feeding team. They're having a terrible time despite having a 1-game winning streak. But over the last 10, they're 4-6-0. But they are still at the bottom, and the Sharks are 31st place. They are 2-7-1 over the last 10. So they're actually, because of these last 2 games, they're starting to climb back up again. And they did prevent the inevitable 9-game winless streak that they had in the beginning of the season. So they're getting pretty close to that territory, but they did prevent that. So if we can see more of the Sharks playing more like they did against Tampa and Jersey, they could be on the up. But as of right now, I have no complaints. As long as they keep having this kind of effort and they end up getting a pretty good lottery pick out of this, if it's just one more year of pain, I'm okay with it. But yeah, so the Sharks right now, goals for 110 and goals against 149. So they are the worst in the league for goals against right now. But as for goals for, they actually are better than about 5 or 6 teams in the NHL, which is something to hang your hat on. At least they can score goals, and they know how to. We do know when we watch the Sharks that they don't give up. They have a never say die attitude, except for the Philadelphia Flyers. They have those odd games like that, but most games they're always in it. And despite the fact that when they are in the lead or they are tied, they kind of do sit back a little too much, end up getting goals against. There is a lot of promise in this team, and just based on the standings, you'd look at it, you'd think this team's a terrible bottom feeder, but they are way better than they look. Now let's take a look at the stats. So mostly throughout the season, things haven't changed. Granlund has been the points leader. He still has 35 points in 40 games. He was over a point a game throughout most of the season, but he's fallen down from that since then. Probably mostly, I would say, due to a lot of line shuffling that Warsofsky's been doing over the past few weeks. Granlund would be in the first line. He'd be with the Lund line with Zetterlund and Eklund. Or sometimes he'd be like centering the third line because Warsofsky would try and shuffle some things around with other guys who are, like, I would argue, not great, like Cunnin or Costin get first line minutes for some reason because of their effort, but they're really, as good as they are, they don't deserve that kind of minutes because we need scorers with skill to do that kind of stuff, and Granlund has shown that. So I really haven't been a fan of Forskovsky's line shuffling with these older, like bottom six kind of guys, and there's nothing wrong with that. These guys are great at what they do. When you need them for certain games and maybe they're hot, you put them in, give them some more minutes, but I don't think you should be starting the first line with Klim Kostin, for example. But either way, Granlund, I think that's why his points per game did drop. 35 points in 40 games, still very respectable, still a very great player, and yeah, probably could be re-signed this year for a decent price, so the Sharks can have that kind of like, consistent goal scoring kind of guy, great presence in the room, great leader and teacher for the rest of the players. Great first place guy for the team. But creeping in second place, he keeps crawling up every week, the famous Macklin Celebrini. He has 28 points in 30 games. Has the highest points per game total for the team as 0.93. He keeps scoring goals too. Like, he just does everything. Like, even when he starts the game, every game he starts, he always does something electric to start the game in his first couple of shifts. He's just incredible, and I think by the end of the season, he's probably going to lead the team in points. He's already climbed up over everybody else since his injury for 1 month. But yeah, in terms of rookie scoring, he's leading in that as well. He's got the most goals for the rookies at least. And yeah, he's just been incredible. Probably going to lead the team in points by the end of the year. We'll see. Third place is William Eklund. Despite the fact that he was away for a couple of games, he was hurt. He came back on Saturday's game, which he actually got a point for that. He has 28 points in 37 games, so he's having a great breakout season. But yeah, he's been hovering around the top 3 the most of the season. Number 4, the unspoken hero, Tyler Toffoli. He's just always been solid. I'm glad he's climbing up. He's got 26 points in 42 games, 15 goals. He leads the team. And this guy's just one of those clutch guys that he just has a winning attitude. He scores amazing goals. They're always like highlight reel goals. He does not give up. He's not afraid to go in front of the net. Both his goals he scored this week were just really gutsy goals. One with like a real skill to it, and the other one he had like a really nice little like driving to the net, just trying to make things happen. He's been absolutely incredible. So to round up the top 5 would be Fabian Zetterlund, the Sharks' premier power forward. 26 points in 42 games, 11 goals, 15 assists. He's got himself a nice little season there. He's probably going to match his totals from last year in terms of goals. He'd probably get around 20 goals. Would be pretty happy with that. And number 6, he's still injured, but Jake Wallman is 6th in points with 25 points in 31 games. He's been a stud, the best defenseman for the Sharks all around in terms of defense and offense. He's been great. And just to round out, just to go down, Will Smith is 9th place just because he's kind of like a person of interest. He has 14 goals in 34 games. He's looking more confident out there now that he's playing more with Celebrini. He had a really nice one-timer pass to Celebrini on Saturday as well. We'll get into that during the games. But yeah, I just wanted to point out to him as well. Cunnin is number 8th, but 17 points in 42 games. He has had some clutch goals. He has 10 goals this season. But again, I don't think he's just the type of guy that you'd want to put in the first 2 lines like I mentioned before. But yeah, he's a good clutch bottom 6 guy you want to have, and he does have a lot of really good goals. And I guess I could mention Wenberg. He's at 7th place with 19 points in 42 games, 8 goals, 11 assists. Perfect type of guy you want a third-line center. And any other team, even a Stanley Cup winning team, I can confidently say he's a third-line center because he just seems to score clutch goals. He's great on the faceoffs, and he's just like a really good all-around guy. He's got great vision. He made a great pass to Cece for that game-winning goal, and he's just a really good depth guy to have on your team. For any Stanley Cup winning team, he's been great. But for the Sharks, he's just one of those guys that's been consistent to help this young team do fairly well. Like, they're, considering some of the struggles, the Sharks still have this promise. They have this never say die attitude. And Wenberg's one of the reasons why they have that confidence and that ability to know we can win games. We're capable. It's because we're young and we don't have a great record. Doesn't mean we can't win this game tonight. And that's something that he brings that kind of aura to that team. So with that being said, let's tear into the games. All right, to kick off the week, the Sharks played Philadelphia Flyers at home on New Year's Eve. So this is the first game in franchise history that the Sharks would play at home on New Year's Eve. Although I do remember many times the Sharks did play on New Year's Eve. It's kind of weird to think that none of them were ever home games. So I do remember it always seemed to happen a lot. So the Sharks did disappoint their fans, as coming into this game they were 0-7, and this would make it 0-8, where they had to have one overtime loss. But the point is they were winless in 7, and this one would be winless in 8. They lost the Philadelphia Flyers 4-0. So yeah, coming into this game, Wallman, Eklund, and Grunstrom were all on the injured reserve. They did not play. Wallman, this would be his fourth game missing, I believe, and for Eklund, this would be his third straight game. He was on injured reserve with an upper body injury. Wallman has a lower body injury. And forward Carl Grunstrom as well. He did not play. He got an upper body injury after losing to Calgary Flames on Saturday. He got hurt there and he had to sit out. And I would argue that he's another key player. I know we know how good Wallman is. Eklund's had a breakout season, but Grunstrom has just been one of those unsung heroes that's fit perfectly on that fourth line. He does everything you want. He gives energy. He'll score the odd goal here and there, but he's the type of guy that can munch minutes. You can trust him out there to play against any other line, and he just will have that aggression. He does not get pushed around very easily. So yeah, losing him, in my opinion, was a big deal as well. So in my opinion, the three key guys are not playing in that game because he's been played most of the season there. So losing him in the fourth line did hurt a lot. But yeah, so despite the fact, like I said before, that this is the Sharks' first home game, they still laid an egg in front of their crowd. But the game looked good in the beginning. Like Macklin Celebrini was really wanted to show basically that he was better than Michkov, because in a way this was like Macklin Celebrini versus Michkov, the rookie, the premier rookie against rookie who's going to win that Calder, because it'll be probably, I can say they're both going to be Calder finalists. I can guess that. But yeah, so Celebrini had a really good chance at the beginning. He ended up not scoring on that one though. But the Flyers would be the ones who ended up scoring first. Sealer opened up the scoring with a sharp angle shot that bounced off the back of Georgiev. Now, if I were Georgiev, he probably would hope that he covered the net more a little bit. He wasn't hugging the post properly. There was a little bit of chaos going on, but you still should have that kind of post done, covered. But yeah, so Sealer would put it in. The Sharks end up getting another goal against. Tippett would score from the hash marks, but it was called offside, so they were bailed out of that early. So it would be 1-0 heading out of the first. Cunnin had a shorthanded chance during that goal as well, because it was a power play goal. It would have been a power play goal that was called off. Cunnin had a nice shorthanded breakaway, but Erson shut him down. So anyways, after that, it would still be 1-0 Flyers, and into the period, even though the Sharks were trying their best to try and get a goal, Paling ended up doubling the lead with a backhand goal after a rebound. Liljegren did lose his man, so what happened was a point shot off the point, and Georgiev was a little bit off of position, but Liljegren was kind of looking around. He wasn't covering Paling at all, and Paling had all the time in the world to get that goal, so he ended up putting it in. And a couple of minutes later, Konechny would end up scoring a power play goal. It was his team-leading 17th goal. It was a really nice cross-ice pass from Tippett, from one-timer pass. And yeah, that would end up making it 3-0. And the Sharks, already in the second period, are looking down, and they're trying to get something out of this game. They really just didn't have the energy that they usually have. Even when they're down, they usually have never say die attitude, and they push, but they just seem to really turtle a lot in this game and not have that kind of killer instinct. So Tyler Toffoli did try to do his best. Tyler Toffoli did have a chance on Ersson, and even Kolostov, who replaced Ersson too as well. Toffoli tried it on him, but he ended up being beat both times. But yeah, so the Flyers would end up making it 4-0 in the third period with Zamula's shot. He deflected it off of Shakir Mukhamadulin's skate, and it went into the net. So that made it 4-0 at that point. There was no chance for the Sharks. So the Sharks just didn't have it. It was near the end of the game with maybe, I don't know, there's still 17 minutes left, but there was just the Sharks did not have anything in it. Even though Celebrini did try a few cool moves, he looked really good, but he just could not seem to get any goals. And yeah, the Sharks are just one game shy after losing this game. They lost 4-0, and they pretty much would have matched their 9-game losing streak from the beginning of the season. So that would have been pretty embarrassing. After this game, that's what they were facing, basically. So they've lost 8 in a row at this point. And yeah, even Borisovsky was just frustrated with his team. He said, we didn't have anything tonight, and it just wasn't good enough. That was just simple words he said. He obviously expected more from this team. I know the Sharks are a bottom-feeding team, but with the Flyers not being a contending type of team, the Sharks should have put in a better effort there. Yeah, in terms of the game stats, Philadelphia outshot the Sharks 34-22. Sharks did have better faceoff percentage with 53-46, but they didn't do much with that percentage. The Flyers were 1 for 3, despite the fact that they could have had that second goal that was called offside. So they're 1 for 3 overall. And in terms of the hits, Sharks out-hit them, the Flyers 41-20, and the Flyers actually out-blocked the Sharks 20-11. And the giveaways for Philadelphia were 9-8, and the takeaways for the Sharks were 8-6. So this would round out the series for the season. Philadelphia did win on November 11th, 4-3, and the Sharks also lost 4-0 last on December 31st. So they won't see each other until, well, unless there's like some miracle between both these teams, they face the finals, but they likely won't see each other until next year. All right, game 2 of the week was Tampa Bay visiting the San Jose Sharks. It was the first game of the 2025 new year, and the Sharks surprisingly did not lay an egg in this one. So, despite my scheduled win-loss, thinking that they're going to just get destroyed by Tampa and New Jersey, I was completely wrong. Now, it might have been for this reason. The game story was that Vlasic had his long-awaited return to play. It was his first game of the season after his injury that he's been nursing since the end of last season. So that was a pretty big deal. And just having that veteran play, I know he's not the guy he was 10 years ago when he was, in my opinion, the best defensive defenseman in the world for a good 3 to 4 years. But he still has that knowledge. He still knows what he's doing. Even especially last year, near the end of last year before his injury, he looked very, very good. Because apparently, I don't want to talk too much tea about this, but he was going through like a divorce, and I think that's probably why he wasn't good over the last few years. Something was going on in his personal life, because like it came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, he just was from like really good to he signed that long-term contract to like just falling off a cliff. But when all this stuff ended last year around January, he started playing really well again after the divorce was over with. So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. But anyways, Vlasic has been decent since that time last January. And coming back, he did do very well because he actually assisted with Toffoli's first goal of the season. Now, first goal of the game. So Toffoli would actually open up the scoring of this game, and it was actually from a pass from Vlasic, a primary assist. But Toffoli did do all the work. Like he did, it was a very nice pass, but Toffoli did this amazing toe drag right in front of the slot, and he passed it up a defenseman and just sniped it. It was 15th goal of the season, and yeah, it was Vlasic's first assist of the year as well, so it was a pretty big deal. But yeah, so Vlasic getting a point must have been pretty nice to see, and he actually had a pretty good overall game as well. So yeah, that was also another milestone for Vlasic. Actually, I want to point that out too, because Vlasic, it was his 1297th career game. He's facing 1300th game, so that was kind of a big deal for Vlasic for this one as well. But I just want to bring that up. So a little bit later, Ferrero would double the lead. He tried to get a shot on net. He kind of pinched a little bit, decided to jump the play up a little bit, took a shot, bounced off a defensive foot, and then that kind of put Vasilevsky out of his position a bit because it bounced right back to Ferrero's stick, and he would snipe it top corner, making it 2-0 for the Sharks. Now, the Sharks would pretty much the whole rest of the game trying to hold on that lead, and they would eventually, obviously. But eventually, Cirelli would be the one who would tie it, or not tie it, but make it 2-1. Basically, Tampa Bay was just relentless the whole time. They were trying to apply a lot of pressure on the Sharks, but the Sharks were capable of shutting them down a lot. But yeah, so Cirelli would make it 2-1, and the Sharks would hold on pretty much for the rest of the time. Askarov was absolutely incredible. Like despite the fact he did have a few heart attack moments playing the puck, he did make some incredible saves and stopped Hedman on basically a shot from power play as well in the third period. But yeah, in the end, Sharks would win 2-1. They snapped their 8-game winless streak, and unexpectedly against a really good Tampa Bay team. And yeah, Toffoli and Mario Ferrero were the ones who got the offense. I think it was Ferrero's second goal of the game, if I'm not mistaken. It was third goal of the season. Sorry, not the game, but the season. His third goal of the season, so he's actually getting some points lately. And Toffoli, obviously being the clutch guy that he is, always manages to find a way to score these goals that come out of nowhere, and they're always just highlight reel type of goals. And Askarov was amazing, making 24 saves to basically get the Sharks' first home win since November 29th. So that was a very big deal. Shots on goal were an even 25-25. Faceoffs were 55% for Tampa Bay to 44% for San Jose, and the penalty minutes were 11 minutes even. And San Jose would out hit Tampa Bay 17-13, and the block shots were 13-8 for San Jose. Sharks actually had all the stats on their side as well. The giveaways were 21-14, but the takeaways were 3-1 for Tampa Bay. So this also rounds out the season series between Tampa Bay and San Jose. It's a dead even split. Tampa Bay won on December 5th, 8-1. They completely destroyed San Jose in their home base, and then San Jose would win in their hometown 2-1. So that was a pretty big. It wasn't as astounding as a win that Tampa Bay had over San Jose, but the fact that San Jose held on to the lead was a pretty big deal, and it was a playoff type of game completely, but just the idea that San Jose would hold on and not give up was an impressive thing to see. So San Jose Sharks now, at this point, killed that long-term losing streak, and hopefully starting a new one. So we'll see what they did against New Jersey next. All right, for the final game of the week, New Jersey will be visiting San Jose in another unexpected win for San Jose. San Jose ended up winning 3-2. New Jersey is another wagon that's having a great season out in the East Coast. They have a new coach in Sheldon Keefe. They're looking very good with everybody. Markstrom is starting to look like his old self again as a great goalie. So the Sharks were kind of they had it in for him basically. Like they're not as good as a team. You're expecting the Sharks to maybe lay another egg, but surprisingly they had a really, really good game. So Toffoli would make the game, had the best chance basically in the beginning of the game. He tried to drive the puck to the net. He got his shot off. He shot his shot and then got his own rebound, but Markstrom would shut him down both times. But late in the period, Kovalenko finally got his first goal as a Shark, making his 5th goal of the season, but he scored late in the first period from an amazing pass from Eklund. So this would be Eklund's return to play for San Jose since his injury, so that was a pretty big deal as well. He made a really nice pass to Kovalenko, who would just drive up to the slot with all the space and snipe it top corner. Very beautiful goal, but the Devils would answer quickly after that from a power play goal from Nico Hischier. It was actually his 26th birthday, just a random fact there. But yeah, Hischier scored like probably a little bit after that, so it would actually be in the second period, about 4 minutes into the second period. So Sharks did hold on to a lead at least over the intermission, but obviously he sure ended up scoring that one and tying it up. And then a little bit later, Celebrini from Will Smith. This was an amazing play. So this is the first actual primary assist from Will Smith to Celebrini, and everyone made a big deal about that because that's just the future of the Sharks. That's what we see, right? We want to see Celebrini and Smith, and this happened a lot in the score sheet where we see them both together. But it was a really nice one-time pass. They've had a 2-on-1 break, and Will Smith would just snipe it across the ice to Celebrini, who would score on Markstrom's 5-hole. Absolutely beautiful. It was Celebrini's 13th goal of the season and gave him the rookie lead after that. Then the Sharks would actually respond 4 minutes later. So this is what the Sharks have been known for doing a lot this season, but fortunately it hasn't happened very often, but probably because they've been in a big losing streak. But when they were winning, they used to very known for coughing up the lead right after they would score, and this was no different. So about 4 minutes later, about 3 minutes later, Paul Caudier would make it 2-2 for the New Jersey Devils. There's nothing too much to say about that. It was like a highlight. It was a pretty nice goal. It was not bad, and Vlasic looked like the GOAT there, but I can't really blame him because it was a really nice play by Caudier. He kind of deked around Vlasic. Vlasic couldn't put his stick down fast enough, and he sniped it past Yaroslav Akharov. But so after that, the Sharks were still holding on pretty well against New Jersey, and Wenberg had a nice pass to Ceci. So this is what, with 25 seconds left, this goal was incredible. So like the Sharks, you thought it was going to go to overtime, but Wenberg ended up making a Craig pass to the point. Ceci bombs it from the blue line and somehow squeaked past Markstrom for the win. And Askarov getting another win, so back to back. So this by the way was also another big deal that Warsofsky didn't continue his idea of like switching goalies, going 1A, 1B. So it should have been Georgiev after Askarov's play on Thursday, but I think after Georgiev playing the way he played against Philadelphia on Tuesday, Warsofsky decided to go back-to-back with Askarov, and Askarov did not disappoint. He made 28 saves, while Markstrom made 21 saves, and Askarov got a back-to-back wins. His first back-to-back wins in back-to-back games as a Shark so far, so that's a pretty big deal. The Sharks pulling off this dramatic 3-2 win over Jersey was a huge deal. I know they had to wait till the last 25 seconds, but with that, the Sharks end up upsetting New Jersey and upsetting Tampa Bay. And that was another thing, too, with these Eastern teams, the slide. That would be the end of the season series because the Sharks beat New Jersey 1-0 on November 10th. And the Sharks now beat New Jersey 3-2. So that means the Sharks win the season series 2-0 unexpectedly. But yeah, that was an unexpectedly great, gutsy effort. The Sharks held on for most of the games. Yes, they had those situations where, they would get the lead and then somehow Jersey would tie it a few minutes later, but the Sharks would manage to win in the last few minutes of the game, last dying seconds of the game, actually. So that's another thing the Sharks tend to do a lot, too, is they'll end up either scoring the game-tying goal or scoring the game-winning goal at the end. So not a surprise that the Sharks will pull this off, but they've been had actually incredible game, especially Askarov. So game stats, New Jersey, shots on goal was 30-24 for New Jersey. And yeah, so that means Askarov had to make 28 saves, so he only let in 2 goals, which is not too bad. And yeah, the faceoffs were 57% for New Jersey to 42% for San Jose. Very underwhelming on the faceoff stop, but they still managed to figure out a win. New Jersey would score out of one of their 2 power plays they had, so 50% on the power play. Sharks had 4 chances, but no power play goals. And New Jersey out hit the Sharks 21-16. Block shots were 16-12 for San Jose. The giveaways were 11-10 for San Jose, and the takeaways were 3-1 for New Jersey. So 2 gutsy wins this week for the Sharks. Unbelievable, but then also a pretty bad egg they laid against Philadelphia Flyers. So you win some, you lose some. Even based on that, the fact that he did win 2 this week, they somehow did drop to the second last place in the league. But that's okay. They'll continue on to play for the next week, and we're going to go later into that when they do the scheduled win-loss. Let's take a quick look into the Barracuda, and they only had 1 game they played this week, so I'm going to go into detail about that game. But first, let's just break down where we're at with the Barracuda in terms of the standings and the stats. So the Barracuda actually fell 1 spot down. They were in second place for so long trying to chase the Calgary Wranglers, who seemed unreachable basically because they're 47 points. San Jose Barracuda have 38 points, and they're now third place to Ontario Reign, who has 39 points. But yeah, they dropped a little bit, but they only really played the 1 game this week, so that probably is the reason why that they dropped a little bit. They did lose that game to the Colorado Eagles. I believe it was 4-2. But yeah, that was just enough for them to drop a little bit. They are in a little bit of not a free fall, but they are struggling a little bit. They're not having that consistent winning streak, and we thought they were a wagon in the beginning of the season. They're kind of hitting reality a little bit, but you can't really blame them. The fact that Colin Graff got sent up, which I forgot to mention in my the games played. So Graff played with Will Smith and Celebrini this week, and he's looked pretty decent up there so far. So Colin Graff was the leading scorer for the Barracuda for most of the season till recently when Podorowski kind of took over. So losing that number 1 center is going to hurt you a lot for the Barracuda. So obviously they can't help, and obviously losing Askarov as well, their number 1 stud goalie that's been lights out for you in the whole season. So that's going to hurt them a little bit, but hopefully that those guys will come back for the end of the season, and we want to see that playoff run. That's what I'm waiting for, is that inevitable San Jose Barracuda and Calgary Wranglers series. I'm telling you, even if the San Jose Barracuda drop down and they have to end up playing like another team before they get to the Calgary Wranglers, that's fine. I really do think that's going to be those 2, and whoever wins that one will win the cup. I really do believe that, because Calgary is looking like a wagon down the AHL, but also San Jose, despite the fact that they've been struggling lately. I think it's just because of all the players going up and down. But yeah, I do really think that the Barracuda are going to be, and the Wranglers are going to be, it's just going to be a great series. I think it'll be the best series in the AHL playoffs this year. But yeah, so in terms of stats, the top scoring players for the Barracuda, Andrew Podorowski is now taking over first place. He's got 32 points in 31 games. He is actually over a point a game now. He's been having a hot streak lately. The Patrick Kane of the AHL, I call him. He's got 13 goals and 19 assists, and he's been the best player for the Barracuda this year now, considering Graff kind of stumbled a little bit, went down. His scoring went down a little bit. He went from a point a game to losing that a little bit, but now he's with the Sharks, so we'll see if he comes back with more confidence, like Ethan Cardwell, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But third place, rounding that off, is Luca Cagnoni with 22 points in 31 games. And actually, I didn't mention Colin Graff. He has 26 points in 29 games for second place. But fourth place is actually Ethan Cardwell. He's been climbing up since his call-up from the Sharks. So he had a pretty decent season at the beginning of the year for the Barracuda. Just a gritty guy, does all the hard-working right things. He's like the Zach Hyman of the AHL right now. He seems like he does everything right, but he's not like as skilled as the other guys. But he was 10th place, 7th place. He wasn't really high in terms of the scoring for the team. He got called up for the Sharks, had a very great time as a bottom 6 kind of forward. Went back down, and he's just been tearing it up. So now he's fourth place in scoring for the Barracuda, 20 points in 23 games. He has a lot more confidence than before, and it's nice to see. Maybe he'll be called up next year as a good depth guy for the Sharks. We'll see, but right now he's making his climb. And number 5 is Philip Biestet with 19 points in 28 games. The future shutdown center for the Sharks we're hoping to see, so he's still developing pretty well. He's hanging around there. I think he's increased his point total as well to jump to 5th. And Thomas Bordeleau is 6th place with 13 points in 25 games. He's still kind of struggling. He's -4. I really don't know what to say about this kind of prospect. Like, we were kind of hoping he'd be really good by this point. He kind of is the same development path as Eklund. He's been developed maybe even longer with the system than Eklund, and he hasn't really made that next step. So it's really interesting to see what they're gonna do. But yeah, right now he's 13 points, 25 games, and to round it out, just gonna mention Daniel Gushchin. He's 8th place. He's got 12 points in 20 games. He's been kind of struggling this year, but over the last month or so, his goal scoring's gotten a lot better. He's scoring more goals considering how cold he was in the beginning of the year. But he unfortunately hasn't had the basically the way that Cardwell had that confidence coming from playing from the NHL, because Gushchin started the season playing for the NHL and got sent down, so he hasn't really taken advantage of that confidence and really shown that, I belong in the NHL by taking the reins. But yeah, he has 12 points in 20 games. So so we'll see how he plays. Maybe he'll have to have another year in the AHL next year to develop. But right now, I wouldn't say he's anywhere close to ready to be a Shark anytime soon. But we'll see. So in terms of the schedule for the Barracuda, as I said before, they played on Saturday against Colorado Eagles and lost 4-2. They play again today at 3 p.m. against the Colorado Eagles, and then they don't play again until Friday against the Bakersfield Condors on January 10th, and then Saturday, January 11th, they play the Bakersfield Condors again before having another week-long break where they play Abbotsford on the 18th. So they have 3 games coming up this week before next Saturday, and we'll see if they can climb back up and take over the Ontario Reign second place, because they definitely are going to be catching up to the Calgary Wranglers anytime soon. All right, so in terms of the game against the Colorado Eagles, how bad it was, they lost 4-2, but they did have their chances. They started strong, but it ended in disappointment. They fell 4-2. Barracuda did jump out with an early lead, but couldn't hold off Colorado, who just kept attacking relentlessly. Their second straight home loss for the Barracuda. It was just really, really bad for them. The San Jose did dominate the first period, the opening period, like I said. They outshot the Eagles 17-6. Van Roboys broke the deadlock late in the first, capitalizing on a rebound to the net on the 7th goal of the season. Aaron Dell kept the Eagles at bay with some clutch saves, but the Barracuda ended up carrying a 1-0 lead in the intermission. The momentum continued in the second period with Podorowski extending the lead to 2-0 on a power play goal, but the tide turned when Barracuda set up Colorado's Jake Wise to score from a high slot, cutting the lead to 2-1. That goal sparked the Eagles, who came out firing in the third period. So the third period, it starts as 2-1. The turning point came early when TJ Tynan, fresh out of the penalty box, tied the game with a highlight reel goal. He deked around a Barracuda defender, roofing it past Dell. The penalty trouble plagued San Jose, and they took 5 minors in the third period, third period. So that was something that they had to work on as a discipline there, and they ended up burning them. Jacob McDonald, who was a former Shark, actually scored one of the power play goals, his backhand with the game winner. It sealed the deal with an empty net goal to make it 4-2. So it was a closer game than you would think, but it's still, the Colorado Eagles did take it. And despite the loss, Barracuda did have a lot of good chances. They just ended up choking the lead, which is something that we end up seeing with the Sharks sometimes. They did. The discipline issues really what hurt them in the end. If there was that many penalties, they could avoid the penalties, and maybe it could have been a closer game. They could have won, who knows, maybe 3-2 instead. But unfortunately, 2-1. But instead, those penalties against them did kill them. Colorado's goalie Andrew Shield stopped 38 of 40 shots, and their special teams were doing it. So hopefully this week the San Jose Barracuda can figure out their discipline issues and learn how to hold on to leads, because that's something that they definitely did not do this week. All right, it's time for your favorite and my favorite segment of the week, the scheduled win-loss segment. So this is where I pretty much predict all the games that are going to happen with the Sharks this week, their schedule, and decide if they're going to win or lose and how many points they should come out with it. Last week, completely wrong again. I thought they could at least beat Philadelphia, maybe at home. They didn't do that. They ended up being the better teams who I thought they would lose to. I think I actually thought they were going to go 0-3 against these teams too, just because of how things are going for the Sharks. That they proved me wrong, and I'm very happy they proved me wrong, because they actually have confidence going to this week, because going on Tuesday, they're going to play the Vegas Golden Knights at home. They need that confidence because they've played some 2 good teams, but Vegas is hot right now. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They won 2 games recently, and they're leading the Pacific Division. They're 27-9-3, and with 57 points. So the Sharks do have it in for them when they play the Vegas Golden Knights. But they should wake up. It's a rival team. Even though it's a new young players, they should still have that feeling that we want to beat this team, because they're rivals. So we hate them. So hopefully the Sharks will pull in against them. Vegas basically has won the last 2. Like I said, they lost to Montreal, but based on that loss, they've still won 8 of their last 9. So they are very, very hot right now. In terms of the top scorers, Jack Eichel is having just an incredible season. 52 points in 39 games, 11 goals, 41 assists. Mark Stone is right behind him with 33 points in 25 games. And Shea Theodore rounds out the top 3 with 31 points in 38 games. Just a solid group right there. And I just want to mention Tomas Hertl, who's 5th place with 25 points in 39 games. I'm thinking based on his contract, the Vegas Golden Knights would probably want more out of Hertl, but The way as a second line center, he's just a big defensive guy too. He can play two-way forward. I don't think they'll complain that much as long as Jack Eichel keeps putting them in the back of the net for the rest of the team. And Barbashev is actually doing pretty well too. He's just that nice power forward type of guy that doesn't take any crap. Very good player too. He's got 30 points in 31 games. This team is pretty much stacked from the top to the bottom. Like they have Noah Hannafin, they have Alex Pietrangelo, Shea Theodore. That's three like defensemen right there that are just solid point. They can get points and they can play defense as well. They're very, very dangerous. Just in the top 10, three of these guys are in the top 10 scoring for the Vegas Golden Knights, which is nuts to see. And Tanner Pearson's having himself like a renaissance season. He's older. He's kind of got a lot of miles in his body, but he's 10th place in points for the Vegas Golden Knights as well. I would say it's very tough for the Vegas Golden Knights to lose to the Sharks. I don't think the Sharks are going to have an easy time with this one. Just everything, like the goals for per game. Vegas Golden Knights are 3.54, while the Sharks are 2.62. Goals against, Vegas Golden Knights 2.67 to 3.45 for the Sharks. So, they're pretty much mirror images. So the Sharks goals against is the same as the Vegas goals for, while Sharks goals for is the same as Vegas goals against. So, everything says that the Sharks should lose this one. I want to believe that I do want to believe, but I'm going to say it's going to be a loss to the Vegas Golden Knights. On Friday, the Sharks will play Utah. They're in Utah, so they'll have a nice little break and then travel. So it's not too much fatigue to the Sharks. They can't use that as an excuse if they lose. But Utah is also chasing a wild card spot. They're fifth place for that to be they're basically in the division. So their division has the top three guys. They're fifth from that, but they're three places away from that wild card spot. So they have 41 points. And Vancouver, who is in the last wildcard spot, has 44 points. So a couple of good wins. If they have a good month, they could be back in the playoffs, no problem. But out of all the teams this week, I would say the Sharks this is the easiest team that the Sharks should beat. They are away. Utah is 4-4-2 in their last 10. They have an overtime loss. And they've only won that one game over their last 7 games. So Utah is a beatable team for the Sharks. Sharks actually are close enough to goals for, so they're 2.62 for goals for to Utah's 2.9. Sharks have 3.45 goals against, while Utah is 2.97. So Utah is a little bit better. They have the edge in mostly everything compared to the Sharks. So we'll have to see if it's possible the Sharks are capable of beating them. But I really do think it's possible, and it's something they should have no excuse to do. So Clayton Keller has leading the team right now at 39 points in 38 games. He's their only point per game player as I see right now. Dylan Guenther is second place with 34 points in 39 games, and Logan Cooley rounds out the top three with 34 points in 39 games as well. But Guenther is edging him out in terms of goals. He has 16, while Cooley has 10. Yeah, so this team, as much as they have some good offensive guys, their depth isn't as deep as the Sharks, I would say. Sharks have more 10-plus goal scorers than Utah does right now, so I would think that the Sharks could outscore their problems with this one. We'll have to see. I do remember Utah does have a grudge since what happened last time between these two teams. The Sharks killed their original beginning of the season, their losing streak when they beat Utah after a crazy comeback. So Utah does have some unfinished business, let's just say. But I do think the Sharks could win this one. I'm going to say win for the Sharks. And then finally, to round out the week, Saturday, Sharks are going to come back to San Jose the day after Utah and play in against Minnesota Wild. Minnesota is a wagon this year. They're second place in the Western Conference. They're comfortably second place. No one's really close to them, and they are chasing the Jets for first place. They're only 2 points behind the Jets and 1 game behind the Jets. So, all it takes is a good week, and they could be first place as well. But the Jets are also a wagon, so we'll have to see. But yeah, the Minnesota Wild are struggling, however, over the last 10. They're 5-5-0, but they did win their last 3. If you look at their last 10, they won 5 of the last 6 games, basically, and they've lost 4 previous before that. So really, they're actually pretty hot recently. It's just that their last 10, they've lost those 4 games at the beginning of the 10-game winning streak. 10-game streak. So, yeah, the Minnesota Wild are a very good team. I would not underestimate them. I believe Kirill Kaprizov is injured right now, so that's probably the reason why they're struggling a little bit. But he's still leading the team in scoring. It's not even close. He's got 50 points in 34 games. The second place guy is Marco Rossi with 37 points in 40 games. So everyone else has played more games than Kaprizov at this point, but he's just dominating in points. Matt Boldy rounds out the top three with 34 points in 40 games. And Matt Zuccarello, who's also been injured for a lot of the season, has 25 points in 27 games. So he's having a really great season as well. I'm guessing him and Kaprizov are playing well together since he's come back from injury. Joel Eriksson Ek actually has had to play a lot either. He's got 17 points in 26 games. So in terms of this team, like it's fully front loaded. Like obviously, if you can shut down that top line, you can probably beat the Minnesota Wild. It's just that they seem to be unstoppable right now, especially with their goaltending with Gustafsson and Marc-Andre Fleury. They're very confident. They can beat anybody, and they have like a pretty decent all-around team with the way they play. But I do believe if the Sharks do shut down their top scoring, that they can win this game. It's just something that they have to focus on doing. So put your best defensive line out there to beat the Minnesota Wild, and maybe good things can happen. But I would say this could be another win too. I'm going to go be confident this week. I'll be overconfident, and I'm going to say the Sharks are going to win against Minnesota. They're going to beat Utah, but they'll lose to Vegas, as Vegas is Vegas, and that's just how things go. And Vegas seems to have the Sharks number overall. So yeah, I'm going to say Sharks are going to go 2-1 this week with 4 points. And yeah, they're going to upset the Minnesota Wild, which would be a big deal, but they're going to beat the Utah Hockey Club as well. And that is my scheduled win-loss. So that is it. All right, I want to thank everybody. This is it for another episode of the Teal Tear Down Hockey Podcast. I want to appreciate you again. Thank you for listening to me. And if you want to check out wherever I am, if you're interested, I'm on Instagram at Teal Tear Down Hockey and X at Teal Tear Down HKY. If you like the show, leave a comment, leave a like. It helps the algorithm. That's it for me, and I will see you next week.